If you felt relief the last time somebody canceled on you, stay with me. Do not put this on in the background. Do not listen to it in pieces while you fold laundry and answer texts. Sit down and give me the whole thing, because the last part of this message changes the meaning of everything that comes before it. And if you leave early, you will walk away with the exact opposite of what I'm about to tell you. You have been told your whole life that there is something wrong with you because you would rather be home. I'm here to tell you that the thing they've been trying to fix in you is the thing God has been trying to protect. Now, you clicked on this because of the word neuroscience, and I want to be honest with you before we go one step further. I'm not a scientist. I'm not going to stand here and pretend I've read something you haven't. And yes, there are people who study the brain, and they can describe what happens inside a person like you when you walk into a crowded room. They can measure the noise. They can chart the drain. They can put a name on your wiring and hand you a diagnosis and a coping strategy, and send you home. But here's what a description can never do. A description can tell you how something works. It can never tell you why it was built that way. They can explain the mechanism. They cannot explain the assignment. Because there is a difference between a person who is broken and a person who is tuned. A cracked bell and a tuned bell both sound different from the ones around them. Only one of them is defective. And for most of your life, people who love you have been treating a tuned instrument like a broken one. So let me say the thing out loud that nobody in your family has ever said to you. Your home is not your hiding place. Your home is your assignment. And by the end of this, I'm going to take you into one small room in Scripture, a room somebody built with her own money, on the flat roof of her house, in a town most people have never heard of. There were 4 objects in that room. 4. And every single one of them is a diagnosis of where you are right now, spiritually. When we get there, I want you to find out which one is missing from your room. Because one of them is. And the one that's missing is the reason this season has felt the way it has. But before the room, we have to deal with what they've called you. Antisocial. That's the first one. Usually said with a laugh, at a family gathering, by somebody who has never once felt what a Tuesday night feels like inside your chest. Then there's depressed. And listen, sometimes that word is real. And if it's real for you, get help. Talk to somebody. I mean that. But you know the difference. You know the difference between the heaviness that makes your whole body feel like wet cement and the quiet that makes you feel like you can finally hear again. Those are not the same thing. And people who have never felt the second one keep diagnosing you with the first. Then there's stuck. That's the mean one. That's the one that comes from the cousin who moved to Charlotte and posts pictures from a rooftop bar every weekend. The one who says, you know, you should really get out more. As if the whole meaning of a human life is measured in square footage covered. And then, the church word. Isolation. Somebody with a Bible in their hand told you that you have a spirit of isolation, and that one stuck deeper than the rest, didn't it? Because that one didn't just say you were odd. That one said, God was displeased. I want to take that off of you tonight. Because there is a woman in 2 Kings who would have been given every one of those labels, and Scripture calls her great. Elisha is traveling through a town called Shunem, and there's a woman there she's never given a name, not once in the entire account. She is simply called the Great Woman of Shunem, and she notices this prophet passing through. And she does what a person like you does. She doesn't announce anything. She doesn't organize a committee. She just makes room. She feeds him. And then she goes to her husband, and she says, let's build him a little chamber on the wall, and put in it a bed, and a table, and a stool, and a lampstand, so that when he comes, he can turn in there. Understand what she's doing. She's building onto her own house, with her own money, for a man who won't even be there most of the year. Nobody is going to see it. It's a room on a roof, in a small town, and one day Elisha is lying in that room and he's overwhelmed by what she's done, and he tells his servant, "Ask her what she wants. Tell her, look at this, tell her she has been careful for us with all this care. What is to be done for her? Would she like to be spoken for to the king, or to the captain of the host?" Now stop. Stop right there and feel the size of that offer. This is the prophet of Israel, offering to walk a small town woman straight into the throne room. Access to the king. Access to the commander of the army. In a world with no applications and no way up, this is the ladder, every door she could never knock on, opening at once. And she says, and this is one of the quietest, most powerful sentences in the entire Bible, "I dwell among mine own people." That's it. That's her answer. No thank you. I live here. These are my people. I'm good. Do you understand how offensive that answer is to the world we live in? She turned down the introduction. She turned down the platform. She turned down the connection that every other person in that town would have sold their inheritance to get. And she didn't even hesitate. And she didn't explain herself. And Scripture never once corrects her for it. Never calls it small thinking. Never calls it fear. It just records it. And then it records what happens next. This same woman receives a son she was told she'd never have, and years later stands over that boy's dead body, refusing to accept it. And that little room on the roof becomes the place where a dead child sits up, sneezes 7 times, and opens his eyes. The resurrection didn't happen at the palace. It happened in the guest room she built when nobody was watching. And here's what I need you to hear. She wasn't hiding when she said, "I dwell among mine own people." She was located. There's a difference. Hiding is when you don't know where you belong, so you stay where it's safe. Being located is when you know exactly where you've been planted, and no offer on earth can move you off of it. Most of you have been told you're hiding, when the truth is you're located. And you've spent years apologizing for the one thing about you that heaven has actually been counting on. So let's go into the room. 4 objects. A bed, a table, a stool, a lamp. The bed is first, and the bed is rest. And I need to say something about your rest that nobody says. You do not rest the way other people rest. Other people rest by adding noise, company, motion, a trip, a bar, a group, a scroll. You rest by subtracting. You get home, and the very first thing you do is take the noise off of you like a wet coat. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You sit in the car in the driveway for 4 or 5 minutes with the engine off before you go inside. You're not on your phone. You're just letting the last conversation of the day drain out of your body. There's a man I know outside Bakersfield who drives a delivery route, and every day at noon he eats lunch in the cab of his truck instead of the break room. 11 years. He's not angry at anybody in that break room. He likes them fine. But he told me, and I've never forgotten how he said it, he said, "George, if I go in there, I come out empty. And if I stay out here, I come out full. And I've got 6 more hours after lunch, and I need to be full for my wife when I get home." That man is not antisocial. That man is stewarding something. Because here's what it took me too long to learn about people like us. You are not low on energy. You are high on reception. You pick up everything. You walk into a room, and you know within 9 seconds which 2 people had a fight in the car on the way over. You hear what somebody didn't say louder than what they did say. Nobody taught you that. You've had it since you were small, and it cost you. and it still costs you. And the reason a crowded room drains you is not weakness, it's because you are receiving from every direction at once. And no instrument is built to receive that much without going home and getting retuned. The bed is where you get retuned. Which brings us to the table. And the table is what you feed on. There's a woman in the 2nd chapter of Luke that most people read past in about 4 seconds. Her name is Anna. She's a widow married 7 years, then alone the rest of her life, and Luke says she departed not from the temple, but served God with fastings and prayers night and day. 84 years old. And in a text, obsessed with movement, with journeys and censuses, and travel to Bethlehem. Here is a woman defined entirely by the fact that she did not leave. 84 years in the same rooms, the same corridors, the same hours, no audience, no title anybody would recognize. If Anna had a cousin in Charlotte, that cousin absolutely told her she needed to get out more. And then one ordinary day, a poor couple from Nazareth walks in with a baby and 2 birds because they can't afford a lamb. And every important person in that building walks right past them, and Anna, the woman who never left, is the one who sees it. She's the first woman recorded to speak publicly about who that child was. She stayed in one place for 8 decades. And because she stayed, she was standing there when God walked through the door. The people who leave see many things. The people who stay see the thing. That's the table. You are not eating what everybody else is eating. Everybody else is grazing a little from this podcast, a little from that conference, a little from whoever went viral this week, and they are full, and they are starving at the same time. You eat slower. You eat the same passage for 3 weeks until it opens. You have one chair in your house where the real things happen. And you know exactly which chair I'm talking about right now. And if somebody sat in it during Thanksgiving, you felt something you'd be embarrassed to admit. That chair is an altar, and you never called it that. Now the stool. And the stool is the strangest object in that room, because a stool is not comfortable. A stool has no back. You cannot lean on a stool. A stool is for sitting upright, alert. Present, it is the furniture of waiting. Isaac went out to meditate in the field at eventide. That's all we get about him in that moment. Not preaching, not conquering. A man walking out into a field at the end of the day to be quiet. And while he was out there being quiet, he lifted his eyes and the camels were coming. And everything in his life changed on the walk home. He wasn't out looking for her. He was out being still. And what he had been waiting on arrived while he was in the posture of waiting. I think about a woman in Fort Wayne who works the front desk at a physical therapy clinic. Every Thursday there's a group text from her friend's dinner, drinks, somebody's birthday. Always something. And every Thursday she looks at that phone and her stomach drops. And she types out 3 different versions of yes before she deletes all of them and sends the one that says next time, for sure. And then she puts the phone face down and she feels 2 things at once. And this is the part that wrecks people like you. She feels relief. And immediately after the relief, she feels guilt for feeling relief. Sister, that guilt is not conviction. Conviction from God makes you clean. That thing you feel on Thursday nights just makes you tired. That's not the Holy Spirit. That's 40 years of being told that a full calendar is the same thing as a full life. Here's the difference, and write this one down. God convicts you about disobedience. He never convicts you about design. Now I need to stop and tell you something about myself. Because if I don't, this whole message stays theoretical. And this is not theoretical for me. My name is George, and there were about 4 years of my life where I believed I was in rebellion against God, and I was not. I had pulled back from almost everything. I wasn't in the rotation anymore. I wasn't leading anything. I'd go to the building and park at the far end of the lot, and sit in the car through the first 2 songs, and go in late so I wouldn't have to do the 7 minutes of talking in the lobby. And I hated myself for it. I had a whole case built against my own soul. I'd lie awake and run the evidence. A real man of God doesn't do this. A real servant is available. Look at everybody else. And a man I respected sat across from me and said the words. He said, "George, I think you've got a spirit of isolation." I carried that sentence like a stone in my chest for a long time. And what finally broke it wasn't a conference, and it wasn't a prophecy, and it wasn't somebody laying hands on me. It was one afternoon at my kitchen table with the house empty and the light coming through the window at that low angle it gets around 4 o'clock. And I said out loud, "God, if this is rebellion, then break it. And if it isn't, tell me what it is." And what came back wasn't thunder. It was one line, and it undid me. You have not been withdrawn. You have been withdrawn from circulation. Do you understand the difference? One is a man running from God. The other is a man being taken out of general circulation and held for a specific use. And I had spent 4 years repenting for something that was actually preparation. Everything I do now, everything came out of that room. Not out of the lobby, not out of the rotation, out of the room I was ashamed of. The calling is wide, the instructions reach only a few. If there is a burning in your spirit right now, do not minimize it. That is the sign. The secret protocol delivers the 7 keys God reserved for those who are ready to unlock what was sealed inside them before birth. The full audiobook is included to absorb in depth, in your own time, in the presence of God, and the awakening map, the bonus guide, that reveals the 5 stages of spiritual awakening and positions you with precision at the exact point of your journey today. Link pinned in the first comment. For a limited time, only because not every door stays open forever. Now let me give you the 4th object, because the 4th object is the one most of you are missing. The lampstand, a bed you can rest on, a table you can eat at, a stool you can wait on. But the lamp is not for you. The lamp is for seeing. The lamp is the only object in that room whose entire purpose is revelation, and a lamp is useless in daylight. A lamp only proves what it is when the room goes dark, which is why the loudest revelation in the entire New Testament did not come to a man in a crowd. It came to an old man on a rock in the middle of the sea. John is on Patmos. Understand what Patmos is. It's not a retreat. It's not a sabbatical. It's a penal island, a piece of rock, where Rome sent people it wanted to erase without the trouble of killing them. Everyone John ever served with is dead. The churches he loves are scattered across the water, and he can't reach them. He is the last one left, and he is old, and he is alone, and by every measure the world uses, John's ministry is over. He is a man who stayed home permanently, against his will. And he writes, "I was in the isle that is called Patmos. I was in the Spirit, on the Lord's day." Same man, same sentence structure, 2 locations at once. His body was in exile and his spirit was in the throne room. And then he says, "And I looked, and behold, a door was opened in heaven." The door didn't open in Ephesus, where the people were. It opened over the rock, where there was nobody. Heaven does not need an audience to open a door. It needs a man who is still awake in the dark. And that's the lamp. That's what most of you are missing. And I'll tell you exactly how I know. Because you have the bed you rest at home. You have the table you feed at home. You have the stool you're a champion at waiting. You've been waiting for years. But you sit in that room, in the dark, and you call it peace, when what it actually is unlit. There's a difference between a quiet room and a lit room. You've made your home restful, and you never made it revelatory. You've got a house full of silence and no lamp in it. Now, I promised you I would not let you walk out of here with the opposite of what I meant. So here comes the hard part, and I'd rather you be a little offended than be comfortable in the wrong room. Not every closed door is obedience. Some of you are not located. Some of you are barricaded. In 2 Kings, there are 4 men with leprosy sitting at the gate of Samaria during a famine, so severe the city is eating things I won't describe out loud. And these 4 are sitting outside the gate, because that's where the law says they have to sit, and they've been sitting there so long that sitting has become who they are. And one of them finally says the sentence that saves all 4 of their lives. Why sit we here until we die? They get up. They walk toward the enemy camp with nothing, fully expecting to be killed. And they find it empty tents standing, silver in them, food on the fires, because the Lord had made the Syrians hear the sound of an army in the night. And they fled. 4 outcasts eat first, and then they say to each other, "We do not well. This is a day of good tidings, and we hold our peace." And they go back and tell the starving city. So hear both halves of this. The Shunammite stayed, and heaven vindicated her. The 4 lepers got up, and heaven vindicated them. The difference was never the location. The difference was who assigned it. So ask yourself honestly tonight, is your door shut because God shut it? Or because somebody hurt you in a building with a cross on it in 2019, and you've been calling your wound a calling ever since? You know the answer. You've known it the whole time I've been talking. If your home is an altar, you come out of it lighter. If your home is a bunker, you come out of it heavier and more afraid of people than you were last year. An altar sends you out. A bunker keeps you in. And if you've been in the bunker, there is no condemnation in that, but there is an invitation. Get up. Not to the crowd, just to the next step. Because here is the thing about the room she built. It had a door. It was small, and it was private, and it was on the roof, and nobody would have found it by accident, but it opened. And what came out of it wasn't a hermit. What came out of it was a dead boy walking down the stairs to his mother. The 120 in the upper room stayed behind a shut door for 10 days. And everything the world knows about the church came out of that room, but it came out. They didn't die up there. The door came off the hinges, and the same men who had been hiding stood in the street in front of a city that had watched them fail, and spoke. The room was never the destination. The room was the workshop. So I want you to stop asking God to make you more social, and start asking Him to light the room you're already in. That's a different prayer, and He answers it differently. Because you are not going to be pulled out of your quiet. You are going to be sent out from it. There is a difference, and everything depends on which one you're waiting for. The world will keep telling you to get out more. Some of that is love, and some of it is projection, and none of it is instruction. Your instructions do not come from people who are uncomfortable with your silence. They come from the one who built the silence into you before your mother knew your name. And He built it for a reason. And the reason is not that you would sit in a dark room forever being misunderstood. The reason is that some things can only be handed to a person who is capable of being alone with them. Not everybody can hold what you can hold. That is not arrogance. That is just true. And it's why the room exists. Here's what I want from you in the comments, and I want you to be specific, because vague comments help nobody. Tell me which of the 4 is missing from your room. The bed, you have no rest. Your home has never actually been restful. The table, you're not feeding. You're grazing on other people's leftovers. The stool, you can't wait. You fill every silence the second it shows up. Or the lamp you have all the quiet in the world and no revelation in it? Pick one. Then tell me the room. Not your city, not your state, the actual room in your house where you meet with God, in 3 or 4 words. The kitchen table, before anyone's up. The corner of the garage. The chair by the window that nobody else sits in. And if somebody in your family has ever said something about you staying home that still stings, put that sentence in there too, in quotes, exactly the way they said it. Because there is a specific kind of healing that happens when a person like you finally sees 500 other people who were told the exact same thing. And remember, everything I spoke about goes deeper inside the secret protocol, pinned in the first comment. The 7 keys, the audiobook, and the awakening map are there waiting for you whenever you're ready to take the next step. She built that room before she knew who would ever sleep in it. Before the sun, before the resurrection, before any of it, she just laid a bed, and a table, and a stool, and a lamp on a roof in a small town, and went back down to her own life. Go build the room.